computer. All right, perfect. So here we are, buyer's representation agreement exclusive. Obviously, you always want to make sure it's the exclusive one. There's other ones that are not exclusive. You don't, the whole purpose is that to make sure that you do get paid, right? So the good news is, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, okay. So this is for a lease and for purchase, right? So obviously you put their name here, right? Buyer name. Okay. Buyer name or tenant. A beginning on date. So like you would fill out any sort of other contract, you want to have a start date. And I would do this for at least minimum 6 months. If you can get away with a year, even better. Because if that kind of shows their commitment to you, level 2. If they won't sign it for more than like a couple of weeks, I mean, if you gotta take what you can take still. But if you can get it for longer, that's even better.
Right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I hear some weird feedback, so I just want to make sure you're there. Okay, cool. So let's just say we get it for, I don't know, 3 months, whatever, or 2 months, whatever. Okay. So location, I always put somewhere in California because you want to be as broad as possible, and anywhere you're licensed, you want to get paid, right? So I just put anything in California. Price range, I keep this as broad as possible. Again, $1 to 1 billion, right? Because essentially it's saying if you lease or buy a property in California, like therefore you should be compensated for that, right? Now, if this can be used if they want to do specific properties only, like just say, hey, I'm working with 4 other agents, but you brought me this one, so I want to stick with you on it. Like you can fill this out, but if that's the case, you probably don't even need this form, right? Because they're already coming to you, right? Or obviously you can check the ones on an attached list. So you're gonna want to check brokers firm list properties for sale because we're not just buyers, we do listings as well. So you always want to make sure this is checked. And then down here, this is exactly what you were asking about, right? So you can either do, let's just say this was a purchase. You can do your minimum of 2.5, right? Or you can do 3, you can do whatever you want, right? In this particular case, because you're just doing 5,000, right? You would check it here and do 5,000 like that, right? So here's where things get a little bit complicated. Not complicated, but let's just say you show them a property and then the compensation is more than 5,000. You just got to make sure that it gets disclosed that you are making more than the 5,000, right? So, and then, so we're going to take this as a different example. Let's just say this wasn't for a lease and this was for a purchase. And someone's like, I want you to, show me some houses, show me around. You're like, all right, let's get this buyer exclusive going first. So right away, when people are reviewing this to sign, the number one thing they go to is this, right?
Right.
They'll say, because it says buyer agrees to pay broker, right? 2.5%. The first thing they're gonna say is, whoa, hold on. I heard that, commissions paid by the seller. I heard this, I heard that. What's going on here? And so, yes, you always want to refer them to this paragraph right here. It said, buyer is responsible for payment of compensation provided. However, if anyone other than buyer compensates broker for services in this agreement, that shall be credited towards buyer's obligation to pay compensation, right? So, for example, most 99.999% of the time, it is the seller paying the commission. So if the seller compensates you 2.5%, then the buyer is off the hook. They don't owe you anything, right? And the reason why there has to be a number here is in order for you to have an actual contractual agreement with your person, is that there has to be consideration, right? There has to be an actual amount of money, a dollar amount that you're asking for. And so this is how that number is calculated. You can't leave this blank. Otherwise, it's like, oh, you have to use me. Okay, but I'll use you for free. So there's no contract there, essentially, right? So you have to have some number here for compensation. Now, if you want to make them feel better about it and say, look, I'll do 2% here, right? And then, if the other agent compensates me, the seller compensates me at 2.5, that's great. But at the minimum, if they don't, you're not on the hook for compensating me 2.5%, right? So that's the number one objection you're going to get from people from signing this. But once you explain to them that there has to be a number because it's compensation, I would say because it's a, what's the word I just used? Consideration. Because there has to be consideration. there has to be a number here, because otherwise they'll be like, can you just leave that blank and then I'll sign it, right? So now you can explain to them why it is. But essentially, if as long as you're getting paid by the seller, then they're not responsible for anything over that amount, right?
Okay.
So that's how you do it. This is just kind of like the listing agreement, where if let's just say up here we get them to sign from June to August, which is a very short amount of time, right? You can say, hey, look, if you end up leasing or buying anything that I showed you during this time, we're gonna for the next 90 days after this expires, you still owe me money. That's what this is for, right? And so this prevents them from like finding a place through you and then going, ooh, like our thing's gonna expire tomorrow. Let me just wait and not offer until after this expires, so I can avoid paying you or whatever, right? So this kind of gives you that protection. You can put 120, you can put 180, you can put a year, you can do whatever you want, but reasonably, we feel like 3 months is reasonable, right? After the fact. So that is pretty much it. Those are the main things that you really care about when filling this out. But I wanted to make sure that you were equipped to explain this portion in case someone asks you. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'm gonna stop recording.